Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. So, after playing through much of the Legion content, I really have a desire for time-walking raids. Now, there is so much awesome content in World of Warcraft, but, it's pretty old, and it's stuff that we never really get to see, aside from going there to roll the dice in a bit of transmog gear or a rare mount. I think that using the scaling tech that we've seen in Legion is a very good way to make that content relevant again, and one way of doing that could basically be having a widespread event, and I basically just call this Patch Week. Now, I think this could be a really awesome way to do a few things. For a limited amount of time, you would bring back one raid, its corresponding world content, and then you'd scale it all up to max level. Sure, an LFR version could exist, but there'd also be a harder version that isn't queuable for players going in with a pre-made group. Gear-wise, it's important that no best in slot stuff can ever come from this because, that would cause some pretty big problems, so they would need to take a look at, say, the trinket situation, but assuming gear rewards can work, I think something like this is pretty much ideal, as it would allow people to experience the content in a way that's a lot closer to how it was, instead of doing a time-walking Burning Crusade dungeon and saying, oh yeah, TBC heroics, they were easy, everyone was rubbish back then, which, really isn't the case. Now, to correspond with this, we would need to see the zone be populated with world quests. These, ideally, would be giving us time-warped badges, so it would fit into the current system, but they could do something a bit more unique if they were going to be putting a higher amount of man-hours towards a project like this. Now, ideally, some key quest lines from the zones would be back. For an example, if Nax is coming back, then you'd get to do a scaled version of the Bolvar questline, or maybe the Thorum questline with the Storm Peaks. Now, often as well, we see unused rewards for each bit of content that basically exist, but Blizzard just haven't assigned them to anything. A good example of that would be mount recolors. So hopefully some of those things could be put into the game via a system like this. Additionally, they could offer an increased drop rate on exciting cosmetic items. That's one way of going with things. Obviously, if you have an Ashes of Alar and, there's a bonus week and people get it easily, you maybe won't feel that good about that, but maybe there's something that could work out there. Now, generally, I like to have an in-universe explanation for doing something like this, but realistically speaking, I think it's a cool enough thing to not really need that to happen. At the very least, you could just pretend your character, got high or drunk and reminisced about the good old days or some shit like that, and it's all a fever dream. But if you think this actually can't be done, think again. The Anchorage Anniversary event, which is on the PTR right now, is very similar to this, but without the time-walking raid element. There's a bunch of world quests that spawn in, just like Legion world quests, and there are world quests for clearing AQ20 and AQ40. However, while the world content is scaled, the raids are not. I have to wonder if this is a prototype for something that they might want to do in the future, given how broadly speaking they have said they're interested in applying the scaling to other bits of content. Now, this could be delivered in a few different ways. The easiest way to do it is just to have it be a week or two long event that appears in the in-game calendar. For now, I think that's fine, just for the sake of getting it into the game, but for me, the longer-term vision of the in-game content is something that's a lot more broad and player-driven. I love the idea of the world basically just being a canvas for player-driven content, where all of the world is relevant in one way or another, and the scaling is used extensively to make it relevant to people. I'm working out how that would be and how that would make sense for a future video, probably a few months off, so expect that at some point, but think of the best bits of Guild Wars 2 world content, the good bits of the World of Warcraft world quests, and then throwing in, a little bit of Arcade, a little bit of Eve, and property player-driven stuff. But as I said, that's stuff for the future. Main topic of this video is just that I think time-walking raids, and then using the zones around those raids, could be a really cool way to deliver some content for players. Okay, time for the post-show part of the video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. If you want more, subscribe. And if you really want more, hit that bell button. It will mean that YouTube will actually properly send you the subscription. So what I like to do in this post little bit of the video is a few bits of Q&A, housekeeping, and audience interaction with you guys. I guess the first question to talk about, and this is a bit broadly because it's in response to multiple people, is why the face suddenly? Simple enough, I wanted to keep things fresh, try out a new formula, see how it would be going, and so far it's actually been going quite well. I figure my audio game's pretty good at this stage, so for the people who just like to throw a video on and play the game, no matter what I do with the visual front of the video, it doesn't really impact them that much. But I felt like I could do a little bit better with the actual format, and according to the statistics, people are watching the videos a bit longer now, so hopefully that's, indicative that it's working, It's the sort of thing, it'll get better over time, and I'll get better in front of a camera as time goes on as well. So let's get into the questions. I've got one from Peter Evans on Twitter, who quite simply said, what is your favorite expansion? And that's a funny question because it's hard to answer that one objectively. And note that the question was, what is your favorite, not what is the best? So what is my favorite? Simple, Wrath of the Lich King. It's the first time I was properly doing endgame raiding. It's when I made a lot of good friends in the game as well, and was doing a lot of the content. Is that, does that mean that Wrath of the Lich King was the best expansion on paper out of all of them? No, it doesn't. It simply means it's the expansion where I had the most fun. That is a combination of the expansion's content, where I was, what sort of free time I had, and the people who I was with. So, for me, that answer is Wrath of the Lich King. I imagine for a lot of people it's Vanilla, or the Burning Crusade, or Cataclysm, or Mop, or whatever. And finally, a question from Flunk Izzo, who said, are you going to be collaborating with other YouTubers for new videos? I'd actually say that's pretty unlikely, and the reason why is because my schedule's a pain in the ass, and I don't want to inflict it on them. I work 9 to 5, and then I do the YouTube stuff, and I also want to be doing streaming as well, so it's really hard to squeeze in time for extra stuff, but, right now I'm just kind of happy to chill out, and, try to manage my own life before I start, taking on other kind of projects with people. But yeah, that's it for this, little Q&A thing. Drop me questions on Twitter if you want to, or down in the YouTube comments. I'm, compiling them all, so they will get seen. But, yeah, that's it for the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.